Hello, and welcome to Shedding the Bitch Radio, where you can discuss, debate, and get advice on how to discover and shed the bitches of fear, insecurity, self-doubt, and negative mindsets so you can realize your dreams and life purpose and create and accelerate the riches you want in life. Join us here live every Tuesday at noon Eastern and dialogue with us at 818-572-2910. You can also chat with us at Blog Talk Radio /SheddingTheBitch or share your stories on our website at sheddingthebitch.com. Whatever the bitch is that's holding you back from living your life to the fullest, it's not worth giving up the riches in life that you deserve. So call in now and let Bernadette Bose know what's holding you back. 818-572-2910.
Welcome, everyone, to Shedding the Bitch Radio. And yes, indeed, I am Bernadette Bose. And I am so excited about this conversation because we're going to be talking about becoming strong from the inside. And I'll introduce our guest in just a minute. But before we get into all of that, I do want to thank our new viewers and listeners. You have been bringing us not only subscriptions and follows and likes and ratings, but you're also giving us comments and suggestions as far as topics you'd like to hear about, as well as future guests, which is awesome. So continue doing that on any one of our social media platforms, as well as you can always email mediarelations@balloffiremedia.com. Now, we couldn't do it without our current viewers and listeners because it's you also with your ratings and your follows and subscriptions and your likes and your suggestions that you're getting and helping us put more eyes and ears onto the program. Whether you are streaming us on any one of the podcast streaming services such as iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, Stitcher, TuneIn, you get my point, as well as if you're going to our Shed the Bitch TV YouTube channel or Shedding the Bitch Facebook page, where we stream our shows as well every Tuesday at noon Eastern time. So be sure to check us out on any one of those platforms, and be sure to be subscribing, following, liking, rating us, and allow us to continue to get more eyes and ears onto the program so we can help you create riches in your business and life that you deserve. All right. Now, I have to thank our sponsor for today's show, which is North Georgia Tax Solutions. Debbie Snelling and her team right here in Georgia, but she services the entire country with her financial and tax services for small to corporate-sized clients. So please be sure to check her out, say hello for me, and go to ngtaxsolutions.com to learn more. All right, let's get into this conversation, shall we? It is going to be a lively one for sure. All right, so we're talking about becoming strong on the inside with our guest, Faust Ruggiero. By becoming strong on the inside, we can empower ourselves to take on anything that comes from the outside. The episode will discuss how learning to work with the tools we already have inside us to make us stronger people who are happier, more productive, and strong enough to address any issue that comes into our lives. We will also discuss how learning to like ourselves, listen up, like ourselves, and the world we are creating will eventually lead to loving ourselves. All this is presented with a step-by-step instruction to make it all happen. Now, I want you to be listening for a few specific things that we're going to be talking about. How to take life off of autopilot. Have you ever felt like that? Like every day is the same day, Groundhog Day. And how to begin the process of becoming a strong person. How to create a world you actually like and one that leads to empowerment and self-love. And how to be confident, understanding that you are able to be successful in anything and address anything that happens in your life. Now, for Faust and the rest of the audience, I like to ground you in a rich question that helps you kind of settle into the discussion. So you might join us and be like, well, I'm not sure. And yet, once I pose a rich question to you, you get a good understanding of, what you want to be listening to and paying attention to and how it relates specifically to you. So your rich question for today, for our guest and for throughout the discussion is, I want you to consider, I want you to be honest and consider, what is that one area of your life from the inside out that you're not totally in tune with, you're not totally like loving at the moment, and you know that if you worked on it and paid attention to it, you could, as Faust says, you could live a happy, fulfilled, and empowered life. All right, so that's your rich question that I want you to keep in mind as we get into this discussion. Now, let me introduce our guest, Faust Ruggiero. He has counseled clients ranging in age from 5 into senior living. He has counseled people in inpatient facilities, prisons, substance abuse counseling centers, and nursing homes, and provided employee assistance programs to major corporations. He's been in the private practice at the Community Psychological Center in Bangor, Pennsylvania, for over 30 years, specializing in individual, family, substance abuse, women's issues, and marital couples counseling. During that time, he's developed the process way of life, and have used it with over 2,000 of his clients in helping them to realize and unleash the power they have inside them. With the process way of life being so successful as a counseling program, he's decided to develop the process-based journey into a written text, and it's called, make notes, the Fix Yourself Handbook, which I absolutely love. So let's bring in our guest, Faust. How are you, Faust? 1 minute. I'm having a little bit of a tricky time. There you are. How are you?
I am wonderful today. Thanks so much for inviting me. It's a privilege. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it is. And, I love this whole topic and this whole focus on working from the inside out, because we can often kind of neglect ourselves because we're so busy. We're so busy with everything going on around us. But before we get into that, I did want to ask you, because I noticed the 610 area code. I'm from Philly. And I also noticed in part of your bio that I saw online that you're a Phillies fan. So I just needed to throw that out there, that we are kindred spirits.
Yes, we are.
and probably my Philly accent after 30 years of being away will probably come out as a result of speaking to a fellow Pennsylvanian.
It does. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. And I'm getting ready to go up there in a few weeks, so I'm very excited. All right. So obviously your background screams of why this subject matter is important to you and why you know it's life-changing for other people. But give us an idea of, even like you mentioned why you turned your story and your process, which I love that, into the Fix Yourself Handbook. But what really kind of led up to that?
Well, it's a kind of a mix between what people need and the way I work. Everything I do, and I just think it's the right way to be, should be practical, should be, okay, you're giving me the information. Now, what am I going to do with it and how? I'm a plan kind of guy. If someone says, all right, this is the issue, I'm going to say, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? Show me. I want the step by step, because if you don't give people that, then they walk out of your office nodding and saying, that's great. And they come back the next week and you say, well, did you do it? And they say, well, I wasn't quite sure. And I get that all the time. I'm supposed to love myself. I'm supposed to do this. And no one ever tells us how to do it. So my way is, let's present the information and let's go step by step. I do that with every person I counsel. I do it with every chapter in the book. Here's the problem. Here's the information. Do this.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. It has to be practical. It can't be just a woo-woo, as I call it. It has to be a how-to. People want to know, how do I handle this? And what are the experiences? What are the traumas? What are the situations people are in that really have them maybe not even being aware that they need to kind of do some inner work, but then do you bring it out of them, or, what is your process in regards to that?
Yeah, they've actually started to bring it out. I help them define it. And what's really happening is that, you alluded to that before, we live in a world where everything is from the outside in. If it's trending and I'm with it, I'm good. If I go with the crowd, I'm good. Let me not say anything against that, because who knows what they're going to say back at me. So we get everything about ourselves from the outside, and then we lose perspective of who we are on the inside because we're just keeping pace.
Right, right. Yeah, I often say that we're just like living like robots.
We are. We
it's
are.
kind of like you hit the on switch the minute you wake up in the morning, and then you just go without really paying attention, right?
Exactly. And that's the first thing I do with people. You mentioned it. I get them off autopilot. And again, practically, what does that mean? Obviously, we don't want to be robotic, but you tell that to people, and they say, "What do I do with it?" I said, the first thing you do is we got to establish where you are. Autopilot living can be great if it's all working for you, but it's not, because there's no thought involved.
Right.
I liken it to the airplane where the pilot puts the airplane on autopilot. It flies itself. He can get up and leave the cockpit if he wants to. There's no thought on his part at all.
Right.
We become like that, robotic
Right.
will. So I say, okay, let's establish that. And so I make them look at their lives. Where are you right now? What's working? What's not working? And when they come to me, usually that not working list is a little bit longer than the other one and a little bit more intense. The items are a little bit bigger there. So it's causing either dysfunction or something toxic, or it's not satisfying at all. It's not productive to get up and do the same thing every day. And then before you know it, 30 years are going by and people are saying, I've done nothing with my life here. And they're markers. Kids have grown up. The job ends, something like that. Now the virus comes in and we start saying, there's nothing out there for me. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And I hate to see people get there because there's so much inside us. All you have to do is go get it and you can conquer your world.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you mentioned some really heavy things like substance abuse and marital issues. And then you even just mentioned that, all of a sudden that you have the kids leave the house or there's a pandemic. Are they at a point where you're almost like, they're almost like panicking, or is it subtle, and what can they be paying attention to that kind of is starting to come from the inside out as far as sensing that there's something amiss?
You know what happens? It's when we slow down, because autopilot always has us going at a pace, and the pace in this nation, in the world, actually is fast. When it slows down and you start thinking and you're not able to just plug into anything, that's when we know it. I'm plugging into nothing here. The pandemic came. I'm not out there. I'm not doing the things I used to do. The schedule's off. I have time to think, and I don't like what I'm thinking about. It's what you really know you're happy when you can slow down, minimize what's going on in your life, and you still feel good.
Right.
That's really how we should live life most of the time.
Yes.
With a few highs here and there, but not we have to spike it all over the place.
Yeah, and feel as if we're constantly going to where, like, oh my God, I used to live like that. You're triggering me.
And we all did.
Yeah.
When you do what I do for a living, it's not just what you see in other people. You start to say, geez, I'm going a million miles an hour here. And yeah, I get a whole lot of things done. And at the end of the day, I can check them all off. But where was the satisfaction? Where was the good feelings? Where was I really feel productive and I'm going in the right direction? I just went. Right.
And I would expect, but does your work include a lot about helping people kind of get still and be very present? Because that's also kind of an effect of just being on autopilot and going is because I didn't understand this concept, Faust. I didn't understand this concept for decades and not only until the last 7 or 8 years. I'm like, what are you talking about being present? I'm present. I'm right here in front of you. And it's like, no. Can you help shed some light on that? And what can people do to recognize that they're not necessarily present?
Yeah, that's the first point, is to go and say what's happening when we're not present. That's when the mind goes back and it goes forward. And what people never tell you is when you go back, you don't go back and get good things. You go back and get toxic, negative energy. That's why we always slip back, because it's that stuff in our life we didn't like, and our minds go backward, or it goes forward, and now that brings on the anxiety. So you get depression or anxiety in these two various places. When I go forward, it's what if. I'm not sure this is going to work out, or maybe I'll be happy when I get there, which of course is never defined. So I tell people, you're breathing in the moment you live in. That's where you focus yourself. What am I doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And not think about, people will be watching a movie and relaxing, and they're thinking about what they got to do in an hour, or they're in with the crowd and having a good time, and their mind slips backward, and they remember something that triggers something they don't like. That's all dead energy. It has no place to be applied. You can't control the future. It didn't come yet. The past is already gone. I always tell them, in the moment you're breathing in, focus on that. And how I get people there is they start to focus on your breathing. Because if you do that, you're really focusing on what's physically occurring at that point.
Right.
And you can't focus on the moment until you slow down. That's the other part of that.
Yeah.
Slow yourself down. And then in that moment, do what you're doing in that moment. Put all your energy right there. You'll do it the best you can, and you'll have all your energy right where you need it.
Yeah. One realization that I had over the last 10 or whatever years is I would travel 30 minutes to work. And I'm sure many of your clients, and maybe even you, have experienced this as well. And you kind of wonder, 90% of the time, how you ever got to work, because you literally do not remember being you remember being on the road, but you're kind of so lost in yesterday or tomorrow, is what you kind of brought up for me, that the next thing you know, you're at work and you're like, what? How did I get? It's like, I don't recall, that entire drive.
And not only that, if you take it one step farther, because that's right on the mark, but then at the end of your work day, you will say the same thing.
Oh.
The work day's over, and I don't even know what I did today. I know I got a lot done, but if I have to go through it, either I don't want to because it wasn't very pleasing to me, or it's a blur. And then the weeks went by, and there are times when I was initially counseling people that, and this is how I really mark this. Some people come every 2 weeks, and when they came, I said, I think it was like you were just here, and I forgot the whole week in the meantime, and that made me understand. Man, slow down. Get your mind into this. Make all this quality. If you can stay in the moment, little moments become big, and then you include them in what you're doing. But I was going so fast, and I'm one of these guys. I can take a lot on, but then I started saying, why am I taking a lot on?
Yeah. Well, do you think that guilt could have, kind of some things from the past, and then a sense of guilt? At least for me, it's like, if I slow down and I'm not trying to do so much and get so much accomplished and so much achieved, I feel as if then I'm not earning, because I grew up with the philosophy, you have to work hard to be able to play hard. And, and so do a lot of your clients experience just the fact that if they slow down and they actually take time off, or they decide to work only 4 days a week, that they then feel as if they're guilty and lazy and not deserving of what it is that they're trying to achieve?
There are people like that, and that sometimes is on a conscious level. We think that, or we don't think it, but it's there, and that's the one that's difficult to deal with, because what it does is simply say we're not worthy. Our culture measures our worth based upon our productivity,
right?
And if we don't do something that is significant, we are insignificant, and that's why I say, that's all that outside garbage. Get inside, start dealing with all the processes. The processes are simple things, learning how to talk to people, trusting, gratitude, humility, honesty is such a huge process. Getting
honesty to yourself, or even honesty to other people.
You're never going to be honest with anyone else, and you will never do anything right with anyone else until you do it right for you.
Love that.
What you're doing. You can say, I raised my kids wonderfully. I don't know what your measuring stick was. They have good jobs, grandkids. I'm not sure what your measuring stick is. All measuring sticks come from the one that comes from you inside your own heart, inside your own mind. When you get to the point that you are proficient with your own life, everything else is in tune. You understand how to like your life, understand how to love things, all that, but you do none of it until you do it for you. That's why I say I'm very practical, and I want people to understand these are the processes, these are the steps, do these, and you will get to that point. I've never seen anyone in my program fail. Never.
Yeah.
If they're willing to work with this, everyone makes it. Everyone comes back and says, but here's what they say. This was easy. How come I missed it all my life? I said, because you did what we do. It's just like everything else in our life. It's like, you have a headache. Well, my God, go take the quick fix, as opposed to laying down, relaxing, slow your pace.
Yeah.
So don't do all the dumb things that get you the headache and the ulcer and everything else you're getting.
Right.
Learn how to get to the point that every day you're doing the right thing and stop taking the quick fix that comes from outside you to feel better.
Mm-hmm. You almost wish, because I recall in your intro, in your bio, that you've worked from people from 5 years old to senior living, and you almost wish that you have this in first grade. That you're learning these concepts and these processes and these not theories, but all the way from a young age. So then it doesn't take you until a lot of times in your 40s, 50s, 60s, if you ever do, right?
Exactly. And again, it's where you put your focus. It's that old thing that, if you put your focus in a particular direction, something has to happen because your energy's going there.
Right.
But if you're putting it somewhere else, the pandemic, everyone's talking about the pandemic and changing the outside world. You change what's inside you.
Yeah.
What's the new normal going to be? And I look at that and I say, why would you even ask that dumb question?
Yeah.
The normal is what you are going to create yourself. That's your normal, what you create, not what the world creates.
Yep. I have to admit, Faust, you're hitting on so many things for me, but I did not have a challenge and issues in the past year and a half.
Because I want to be self-sufficient. I don't want to say, gee, I can't go out. I can't go in a restaurant or a concert or a movie. I can't get to hug all my friends, and I'm a hugger. There's no doubt about that. I love people. But I said, nothing. People say, how did you do it? I said, I just went on with my day. I structured it the same way I did every other day. Right. Even if there was going to be a day I wasn't going to go into the office, then I still got up the same day, still took the shower, did all those things, and planned my day and did it. I didn't see as many people socially.
Right.
Fortunate for me, I have a very large office, so I can sit the people 12 feet away. So I think I did virtuals with maybe 3 or 4 people, and I probably saw 45 people in the office a week, Yeah. So, there's ways to do it.
Right.
But it boils down to this. The strong people who were strong inside and have been working on that came through this virus with no problems. The people who were not strong, they did the same thing they do with everything else. They brought it internally with negative language, spun that negative language around, lived that way every day, and were miserable. And the rest of us said, oh no, I am not going to do this. I will create positive language. Yeah. I'm not saying the virus is positive. I'm saying a way to deal with it. And my world is going to be positive. I will get up in the morning from my first breath and say, okay, let's strap it on. Let's go. We're going to do good things today. And I don't care what comes up, because if I'm strong inside, I can deal with anything, including this pandemic.
Yeah. And is that what brought you to really saying, I need to kind of capture all of this in text in the Fix Yourself handbook?
Yeah. In the office, people come in and we start talking about the process. You got to get honest. You got to slow down, get your intellect over your emotion. We talk about those things. But as I was dealing with this, I realized, I can put this into a format, and it's time to get it out and just let people read it. And, I'm thrilled. Corporations are using it. Marriages, they're reading one chapter at a time. Wife reads it, husband reads it, or significant other. And then they sit down and talk about it together. And they're coming back and saying, you saved our marriage. And I had never talked to the person. So it's nice to know the program works even in the text form, where I'm not virtual. I'm not realistically there.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And at the same time, it is a good vehicle that when someone's working through it, but then they're kind of stuck, or they just need some support, they can reach out to you and they can kind of say, oh, could you guide me through this, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So are there any nuggets you'd like to share with us in regards to the Fix Yourself Handbook that even our listeners can be, practically considering to, putting in place right now?
What I tell people is, if you're looking for a program that doesn't have all the fancy verbiage, doesn't throw acronyms and say, look at what I created, a down-to-earth program that really works with what's inside you. You have it already, so you're not searching. It's going to simply put it in place for you so you understand it. It will. Every chapter, there are 36 chapters that present a specific issue you have to get to, like honesty, for example. There'll be 3 or 4 pages of text, not this big elaborate, let me talk forever kind of thing. 3 or 4 pages, so you understand the information, and then takes you right to the steps. Now go do this. If that's what you're looking for, that's what I presented. And
Nice.
If you do that, you get strong on the inside. It's not designed like other self-help books to say, well, let's talk with making you love yourself. Let's talk about this 1, 2, or 3 problems. It's 36. So it makes you strong so you can deal with anything. That's the goal, not one goal. Everything.
Right.
And I want it to be for anyone. So it doesn't matter what your religion or your color or your sexuality or gender, your age. It's anyone. If you can read, you can do this program.
Well, because it's about a being. It's about being a human being, being one of heart and brain. And therefore, we all have those, and it can be for anybody.
Correct. And that's what a good program, a good life program should be applied by anyone, not only because you want to get real good. If everyone can do it and you start talking about it, geez, and we're all supporting each other, doing the same thing that it's sort of like back to I'm eating naturally, like we used to eat. And now I'm eating with all these chemicals and all this prepared crap. I just want to take you back to what's inside you. The good old organic stuff inside you. You already have it. We're just taking the junk off. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
Here, this is the way you go back and do it. And your mind, since it's already inside you and it's been there, will jump on it right away and say, oh, finally, you're getting me back to where I need to go.
Yeah. And when you say, that it will also assist in really helping you deal with just anything, any challenge that comes up in your life, are you saying that, it's not a quick fix, but it's a fix and then you're permanently happy, or something else?
I'm saying that it's not a fix. I'm saying that it's a program for life. If you use it, a number of things will happen. If any problem at all comes up in your life, you will be able to go back and get the right process to deal with it. I'm saying that you will become a person who likes your life. So when you do that, you will be happier. You'll find much more gratitude. You'll realize that you don't have to have all the spikes in it. You'll be humble. You'll start to gain wisdom, which is a real nice place to be. When you like your environment and you get up every day and say, I like this, now that's the step that's missing in loving yourself. Like yourself first, like how you feel, like the world you're creating. Then you can move to saying, gee, I really feel good about myself. Self-love comes from that. Then you can move it outward to someone else. Until that time, you can say you love someone else. It'll be a good old Hallmark version of it, but you won't connect to the spiritual part of the love, which is the key to being able to love someone else. I'm not talking religious. I'm talking that essence inside you, where you get inside. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and you mentioned something too I want to ask you about, the fact that like what you focus on expands. So, if you could touch on that, because I think, people don't recognize that if you put good out in the world, if you put kindness, if you put out that self-love, well, that's what you're not going to be unhappy. You're not going to be insecure. So you're going to be able to go after what it is that you want. Could you touch on that? Because I think that kind of goes over people's heads sometimes.
Yeah, let me use a couple of chapters on that. Let me use a chapter on gratitude. When we talk about gratitude, it's being grateful. So if someone does something for you, get something, you set a goal, you achieve it, you're so grateful. That's not gratitude. And that's a very situational excitement kind of thing. Gratitude should not be something that happens in response to someone else. Gratitude should be inside you all the time, so that whatever occurs in your day, the simplest little thing, you're wrapping gratitude around it. So it doesn't come from the outside like everything else I do. It comes from the inside. And when that happens, everything that you're presented with is a gift. Everything you see the beauty in it. You are so thrilled to wrap yourself around that. And then other people see that and they say, wow, that really feels good. They love being around you because you're that kind of person.
Yeah. And
you get to live that way every day. So a challenge where someone else might say, oh, I got to do this. You say, wow, look at those 2 or 3 or 4 things in there that the other negative person didn't see, and you're just thrilled to have it. That's how you should be living life.
Yeah. And that just gave me so much breath. That just gives you so much breath, space to kind of work into that. It's not that like an anxious and suffocating type of feeling. And who wouldn't want that breath and space and freedom in their life? Now you talk about the process way of life, your program. What should we take away from that? What should we kind of understand regarding the process, way of life?
Processes, I built that on, I started with things like honesty, but then when I started to work with it, I kept on identifying more and more. The book has 52 of them in it. What I want people to understand is that it doesn't matter what you do in your life. I don't care if you're staying home and you're watching a movie. There are processes that occur for you to get there. You maybe make your snack and prepare the living room and the television. There's things that occur. You and I are doing this interview. We did a lot of things, little bitty things, to get this going from the time the initial email started and the conversations occurred, setting it all up, setting your end up. And we went through a little process while we were trying to connect. We had to go. So there's a process involved with everything you do. When you come to the point that you can master those little things and then get to the big ones like honesty and gratitude and creativity and communication, all those processes, now you're taking control of your life.
Yeah.
It doesn't just slide by. There are no quick fixes. It's not autopilot. There are no processes with autopilot.
Yeah.
But it's a conscious application of energy. I'm going to do this.
Right.
I'm going to get good at it and I'm going to repeat it. What I tell people all the time, if you're trying to do something new in your life, you're actually trying to learn something. And the mind's way of learning, the formula is simply repetition over time. So you get something that works, that is positive, that can help you get to a different level, and you keep on doing it over and over and over again. Your mind now grasps it. It becomes a different level of autopilot. Now you don't have to put as much energy into it, and you're living it.
Right.
That's what you want to be doing. You give yourself, I always ask people, are you worthy enough? Do you believe you're worthy enough for you to put all the time you need into yourself to become a new person?
Yes.
Bottom line, if you believe you're worthy, then why would you not get up every day and treat yourself to a program that will change your life? Why would you not go there?
And can someone take your program, and you said there's 36 chapters, there's 50 some odd, were they processes?
Mm-hmm.
And can someone like you said, get up in the morning? Can someone take pieces of it and each day, take their first, 20 half hour of their day and just work on one of those things?
Yeah, they can. What I ask them to do is read the whole book so you understand it.
Right.
Then you can work the whole program, but you're going to get up someday and be challenged. You need to be a little bit more creative in something. It's a chapter on creativity and how to get there. You need to be more honest that particular day. Or you're working with the spiritual part of you or a relationship. Absolutely. There are all the chapters there doing all those things, and you will automatically key on some chapters in some days and others in other days. Or you as a person, maybe you're not as honest as you want to be. So you're going to key on that to get to where you want to go, because you might say, gee, I'm using all these defenses that keep me from the real issue. I lie to myself, or I just misrepresent it because it hurts me or I feel uncomfortable and I don't want to feel bad about myself, so I color it all up.
Yeah.
You may apply more energy routinely to that. But today, maybe you're dealing with someone at work or your significant other, and you need to be a little bit more confrontive. So you may have to say, I got to change my language because I let it boil inside me. Then I come out with, a gusto, and I break them down. They get defensive. I may need to work on how I communicate, how I express something when I want something to change. So yeah, you're going to key on some things. On the other hand, try to work the whole program, because that's going to get you to what I want you to be at, which is I call internal balance. We're physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual beings. So the closer we get to balance and all those things, where they're kind of all working together, the better we feel.
Yeah. No, I absolutely. Gosh, you are just like speaking my language. I absolutely love it. Love it. Love it. Now, could you talk about, because your audience in the past, your client base in the past has gone from 5 years old to senior living, but could you talk to the audience, the demographic of the audience for your book?
It's interesting. I'm working with publishers, and I'm sure you know this. They want us to be demographic specific. That's when I was writing the book. Agents and publishing people were saying, "Oh no, who reads self-help books? Basically, women 18 to 55." So I said, "You want me to write just for them? Okay, so then we'll change them, but then they'll go home and their husband will be back in the same book. So now no one's going to support them." The demographic is, I wrote it for everyone. Men will not read 50-page chapters. They just don't.
Yeah.
But they'll read 3-page chapters or
right.
4. So we condensed information. Men love this.
Right.
When the wife says, "Well, read this," and they say, "I'm not going to sit down for 2 hours and read." She says, "No, it'll take 10 to 15 minutes. It's 4 or 5 pages." Then it tells you exactly what to do. And the man says, "Really? It says exactly what we can do? I'll do that." Men like that plain, right to the point thing. Women like a little bit more of a journey.
Yeah.
A little more of a pat on the back.
Yeah.
You emote more efficiently than we do.
Right.
So there's a journey. Women are going to constantly get that. Hey, you're wonderful. That it's all in there, and it's not junk. It's not that that let me pump you up garbage. It's pat yourself on the back now because you're doing this.
Yeah.
Some people are going to say, "Wow, this is talking to me. This is what's happening in my life." Older people are going to say, "I wish I would have done this, and I can still do it." So I wanted to get everyone. I wanted so. Actually, and to be honest with you, if the audience will maybe get a little chuckle here, I pulled out from what everyone normally does and said, the publishing house wants me. I got down to the wire, and there were 2 agents involved, and I asked them to kindly step aside. We formed our own publishing company. We did it my way, and so I pushed the dollars aside, if you will, and I said, this is going to be the book that says do it the right way.
Right.
I don't care what they said.
Right.
I want everyone to benefit, and I want them to do it the right way. I wasn't making a decision so that the agent can get their 15 or 20%, and the publishing house can make a lot of money.
Right.
The wealth in this is seeing people change. That's what I've been committed to for 4 decades.
Right.
I'm not going to stop now.
Yeah. And I've been envisioning, and I'm very visual, so I stare up a lot, but I've been envisioning like family unit coming together and working on it and having conversations about it. And then those couples, like you talked about, couples, and then individuals. And then I'm even thinking, masterminds of a group of clients, like, probably what you do in your own practice that could be utilizing the Fix Yourself Handbook to kind of create dialogue and conversation and so forth and so on, if they don't reach out to you directly. I mean, it's powerful.
Yeah, they're doing it now. The interesting thing, I started working with the program. It's 22 years now. And so, of course, being in practice all these years, I've seen people who are now grandparents, and their sons and daughters came, and now their grandkids are coming. And the grandkids, I just had one last week, said, "I know what you're going to do. It's this process because my grandfather told me, and then my mother said she came and used it, and they loved it. And when I started to go off a little bit," she's in college now, this particular girl, and things are changing. And they said, "Go over there and he'll help ground you, and you're going to see what you need inside. And I said, geez, 3 generations and they're still using it. So
nice.
So our corporations are having their people use it because they're finally understanding that it doesn't matter what marketing person brings a program in. Your strong or weak people are going to attempt to implement that program. So why not get your people strong before you give them the program?
Yeah.
So they're using it. So it's one of those things that is just designed, and it was done on purpose for everyone to be able to use in any situation.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, can you just give us an idea of what the foundation of it is? And you might have touched on this already, but if you were to say for our viewers and our listeners, what is the core foundation of the program and the ultimate result they get from it?
Yeah. The core of this, obviously, is what we started to say. Take your mind off autopilot and external stuff, and then start from the beginning. And when you go into the foreword of the book, it talks about bookends, process bookends. And those are the 4 that start the program. They are honesty. You've got to get honest, so you can't work anything.
Right.
You're going to slow down your life. And that doesn't mean you're physically going to slow down and walk slower. It means that you're going to take all this accelerated garbage out of your life. Yeah. And that's on any level. If you're trying to change your life and you're pumping your body full of accelerants every day, I don't care if it's 10 cups of coffee or the energy drinks or loads of sugar, you're going to go so fast that you can't slow down.
Yeah.
You're going to experience anxiety, etc. So slow down. And that's the second thing we want to do. The third thing I want them to do is begin to understand the benefit from having your intellect get into a problem before your emotion. Something happens and we go, and then we go negative. And I say, it's the old take 10 steps back, take a breath, whatever it is. Give yourself enough time to think. So you might say, all right, this is happening. Let me slow down a bit. Let me think about this. Let me get the facts so I know what I'm going to emote on. I can put a plan together.
Right.
Get the emotions on the back burner.
Yeah. That I love. That I absolutely love, because that is what creates all the drama for people.
Oh, horrible. And I like it in the book, the chapter on intellect over emotion. I always say that emotions are to our brains like a virus is to a computer. Computer is designed to run logically and move forward and solve the problem for you. And then the virus comes in and it destroys the whole process. That's what happens when we use our emotions. It gets in our brain and affects everything. And before you know, we're overreacting to items that either do not exist or are so insignificant that they shouldn't even be in the picture. Yeah. Slow down, get your brain in first. That doesn't mean you can't emote, but emote over what's real. That's what I want people to do. Yeah. So we want to get that. And the fourth thing is fact finding. Get the facts. Stop bringing all this garbage in. Only the facts. Yeah. It's like the old, I'm dating myself here, but the old Dragnet television show, the cop would say, just the facts, ma'am. That's all it is. Give me the facts. Don't throw all the emotion in. Just give me the facts, nothing but them. And I will tell people, you said that, are you sure that's a fact? Well, no, I mean, it's a little bit of this, and I thought about this, and I felt this. I said, no, push that aside, because you can't work with it.
Right.
Just the fact. If they do those four things, they now set themselves up for all the processes. They'll be able to communicate. Their feelings will be in order. They'll be grateful. They'll set boundaries. They'll learn how to defend those boundaries, which is huge in our lives.
Yeah.
All those kinds of things they'll be able to do if they get the first four of them. And then the other bookends are at the end, where you get into faith and feeling good about yourself and knowing that you have that power, to humility, to gratitude, to finally loving yourself. That's the end of it. So, if you're worried, and that's the way any good program should be. It should answer your question. How do we start this, and where are we going?
Right.
And those things should be defined specifically for people. Not, it's kind of like, because that's what I hear all the time when people answer. Specifically, how do we start? You start this way. Where am I going with it? You're going to get here if you do all these things, and you will get there.
That is so awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Faust. That was absolutely great. And I want everyone to go to FaustRuggiero.com. The link is right there for you to make note of. The book is the Fix Yourself Handbook. All right. And be sure to check out and get that book and, kind of consider, just like you did, read the whole thing, excuse me, so you understand, and then start breaking down with whatever it is that you need at that particular time.
But, if they go to the website is dedicated to the book. You'll see chapter outlines there. You'll see excerpts from the book. I believe, again, when we're selling something, as I'm doing, we should be transparent. We should be able to give people an honest view of what we're asking them to purchase. So you can go there and say, here, well, I'm looking at everything. There's my interviews. There's all that kind of stuff. I can see and hear what this guy's doing. Right. Now, I really want to buy the book. So it's an honest, straightforward presentation. Go there. Everything you want about the book is right there.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I so appreciate it, and I appreciate you being part of the Shedding the Bitch program and bringing your story and your book and all the great tips and advice and strategies and wisdom and the process way of life to our listeners and our viewers. Thank you so much.
It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to remind everyone, please check out the Fix Yourself Handbook. Go to FaustRuggiero.com and then stop right back here next Tuesday at noon Eastern time. It is our Ask Me Anything episode. So be sure to share your questions, stories, and challenges, and let me give you tips and advice and sometimes tough love in handling it. And we will look forward to seeing you then. You have a beautiful, beautiful week, a rich one, a prosperous one, and one full of fixing yourself from the inside, just as our guest suggested. So thank you very much, everybody, and we will talk with you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Shedding the Bitch Radio with Bernadette Bose. Join Bernadette every Tuesday at noon Eastern as she helps you shift your bitches to riches. And the dialogue is always going on at sheddingthebitch.com. See you next week.